Evaluation for Charlie's story. Question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products?
The genre of our film is drama, and we have followed the conventions of this genre by creating enigma, which makes the audience want to watch on. We watch some opening sequences of the drama films, and noted that most of these do this.
The typical character we use was a grieving sister. Like, for example, in P.S. I Love You, when she's grieving on her husband. We challenged the genre by putting an aspect of the thriller genre into the opening sequence to make it more interesting for the audience. We use natural lighting, which is classic for this genre, but we use dark lighting to reflect the mood and feelings throughout the sequence.
The classical events that take place in our film is that the girl loses her sister, and our voiceover explains this, which makes the audience understand what's going to happen in the rest of the film.
The main themes carried out throughout the genre and opening sequence is the theme of death and grieving, which is quite
common in
films that are romantic and dramatic. The opening starts with equilibrium as the characters are happy and everything is normal, but the disruption happens early on, and if our project was going to be made into a full film, then it would be resolved.
Our media starts off with a studio company, which is classic conventions of opening sequence narrative. It changes by having a flashback on, but this also creates enigma, which is...
Question 2. How does your media product represent particular social groups?
Our product represents anyone who has lost someone, as it shows how they will be grieving and upset. Also, our product represents teenage girls by the way the main girl is dressed and how she speaks.
We have a representation of her state of mind by her facial expressions. The fact that she's wearing pyjamas might mean that she's upset, feels it.
Our product represents anyone who has lost someone, as it shows how they will be grieving and upset. Also, our product represents teenage girls by the way the main girl is dressed and how she speaks.
We have showed the representation of her state of mind by her facial expressions. The fact that she's wearing pyjamas might mean that she's upset, feels that she might not want to leave the house, which is typical, it's what people expect people to do when they've lost someone, to just stay at home and grieve and not go out.
This is shown in the film P.S. I Love You, where she stays in the house for a long time and just gets the house in a big mess.
And that's where we got our inspiration from. Question 3. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why?
Our production company is called Zebra Productions, which will produce romantic and dramatic films. If we were doing this in the real world, we would use either Columbia Studios or Universal, as they are big production companies and are associated with dramatic and romantic films.
With our film, we're trying to reach young girls, because girls are more likely to watch a dramatic film about someone dying than a boy would, whereas a boy would prefer to watch action films. And through the production company, which this could help, because depending on what production company you use depends on the type of film it is. Also, if our film was going to be shown, I think it would be shown in cinemas, because there are already films out there like P.S. I Love You, Dear John, that are similar who have similar conventions to our film, which we could relate to, and other people might feel the same. Question 4. Who would be the audience for your media product?
Our media product is aimed at mainly girls aged 15 to 20 years old. Although most women would enjoy it, we aimed it at British people, as the dialogue is in English and the stereotypes are mainly based on British/American stereotypes. People watching our film had to have a good lifestyle and attitude to life, otherwise it could affect their mental state of mind. The kind of people we targeted this film at would have to enjoy dramatic films and romantic stories.
Depending on how often the viewer watches the films, if they was to watch a lot of dramatic films, for example, we have to make our product stand out from other dramatic products so that they take an interest to ours more than the other films. Also, I think it would be mass-produced to a mass audience, because a lot of people are going to be watching it. Personally, I think it will be national rather than international, because the dialogue's in British, and it can be released in America as well, because over here we watch American films, so it'd be sort of sad. Question 5. How did you attract or address your audience?
The audience is attracted to our film by mainly the flashback, as it has the most drama. This may make the audience scared, as the girl was shown dead, so it will keep the audience watching. The plot is slightly revealed at the beginning, which again would make the audience want to read on. The main character is revealed to grab the audience's attention. Our genre is slightly different to the classical drama, which means the audience will be more interested to see what happens, and it shows a twist in the narrative when the flashback starts, as it is a shock to see this in the opening sequence.
We use the age film effect at the end of the opening sequence, which grabs the audience's attention as it is different. We tried to build up enigma as much as we could, as this is the whole point to an opening sequence, and we do this by creating suspense with the flashback, and it makes the audience want to know why Charlie has been murdered. The audience should be shocked by what's the murder, because it's not often in dramatic films that in the opening sequence you get someone being murdered, because that normally comes after, like during the film. So it's quite different to other films like P.S. I Love You, for example, where he doesn't die until the actual, like, after the credits have shown. The expectations, we can cut. Yeah. The expectations are that they wouldn't expect a flashback or or even an aged film maybe, because they would just expect just to get a little brief idea of what's going on, not actually quite a big view of the plot. I don't know what I'm saying. Right. I was thinking that is so shit. Question 6. What have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product?
If we were to do this project again, we would do more planning before filming, as we had all the ideas in our heads but didn't get them down on paper. We have learnt how to use a non-linear editing station called iMovie and how to put effects on footage. Also, we have learnt how to create voiceovers and import them onto iMovie. If we were advising other people to do this, we would say make sure you do detailed storyboards, as it makes your filming a lot easier, as we found doing our filming.
Using the camera, we found it quite easy, as we're both able to use technology easily, whereas some people, such as older people, find it harder to use technology. We used a tripod to film a lot of our media, which made the camera more steady instead of having it wobble or shake, which doesn't look very professional. We did have a bit of problem filming when we wanted to do a tracking shot, as we didn't have a dolly and we had to walk doing it, which was hard to keep it steady at the same time. The quality of the camera wasn't very good, and when we filmed in dark places it looked a bit grainy, but overall it did look okay, it was suitable. The disadvantages we had with the technology is we had to use iMovie due to problems with the school, lack of equipment at school. So we had to use iMovie, which meant we didn't have as many editing options as other people did using Final Cut. But we compromised and we did everything we needed to do, so that made it a whole lot easier. Yeah. Question 7. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the full product?
We found that doing the preliminary task, it was very useful, and we learnt the basics of filming and using the editing software on iMovie. All our filming for our preliminary task helped us with our coursework, and it was all done on a private location, so we didn't have to worry about permissions or anything like that. We divided the roles equally. For example, if one of us filmed, the other one would act, or vice versa. Our preliminary exercise helped us to work as a team, so when we were filming on our proper product, we didn't argue and we just got on with it really easily.
We learnt that we didn't really need to use a storyboard to do the preliminary exercises. We was focusing more on our technical skills and our camera shots than we was of our acting in the storyline, which helped because then we could stop after each bit and discuss what we should do next, which helped when it comes to the actual real film, because we knew that we had to have discussions to make sure that the other person knew if thought that it was a good idea of what we wanted to do. We asked a couple of our friends to evaluate our preliminary exercise, and they told us that it was much better because they watched it before we did it as well, and they said we'd cut it in just in all the right places, and it looked like it was professional. The shots were good, the natural, it looked like a proper performance. But we think from the preliminary exercise, it did help us when coming to do our real film, because we knew how we learned how we all both worked as like in a team, and